Hello, and welcome to another edition of TJ Plays with Some AI Stuff. In this edition, I want to talk a little bit about Figma MCP and what it can do and what it can't do. And I want to talk about some frustrations that I've had with it. And I've thought about this video a couple of times and how to best approach it. And I might have to do a couple of parts, and this will just be the first part where I just kind of like I'll just spill it all out, and then we'll see where things land, and maybe I can gather some feedback to see what's most helpful for people to understand what's going on here and the importance of what this new feature I'm about to show can do. So the first thing I have right here is Claude Desktop, because I feel like that's the easiest to demonstrate some of this stuff in, because you're not staring at code, you're not staring at a CLI, you're actually looking at a little chat interface that has the ability to interact with local and remote MCPs, which is mainly what we're going to be working with here today. So if you look inside here, I have a couple of MCPs hooked up. I have this Figma Console MCP, and then I have the standard Figma Dev Mode MCP connected here. So first I want to, can you please establish a connection with the Figma Console MCP and provide a status? So Figma Console MCP is something that we built that helps give the Figma Dev Mode MCP a little bit more support than just what's provided from the Figma Dev Mode MCP. Figma Dev Mode MCP is great. Don't get me wrong. I love it. We've been working with it for a long time, and we've been working with several flavors of it. And it gives us some really good information, but it doesn't give me all of the information that we need for certain things. So this is, so we built this tool called the Figma Console MCP, and it does a lot of what the Figma Dev Mode MCP does, but it doesn't make any assumptions, which is a lot of what Figma Dev Mode MCP does. So we've just confirming that we're connected to the Figma Console MCP, and it's pulling up the altitude system, which is what I have back here. This is the altitude design system. This is our design system. And it's telling me all this information about it. I have these active workers running on it. It's telling me it has access to, this is key, it has access to the plugin console logs. So if you're looking to generate, like in my instance, we're doing some fairly complex Figma plugin development. So it's important for, if we're using an agentic AI workflow, like if we're using Claude Code to help build these plugins, that Claude Code has access to the Figma desktop plugin console logs, because it needs to be able to console log out errors or reports and then read what those reports are and then determine how it wants to best react to those reports. So if it notices an error, or if it notices that it is or isn't getting caught in a certain conditional, then it'll react to that and then kind of feed itself in this little endless loop. Not endless loop, eventually there'll be an end to it, but it'll feed that context back into the LLM to make good decisions, better development decisions, in order to make that error go away or catch that certain condition that needs to be caught. So this, I just asked for a status. It's giving me all the information here. And right now the highlighted, the currently connected one right here is the altitude design system. So I could say something like, use the Figma Dev Mode MCP to gather the token architecture data. And so I'm asking for the Figma Dev Mode MCP. So it uses its get variable defs, but the problem is that it doesn't, the Figma Dev Mode MCP doesn't have that information, and sometimes I want that. So it used the Figma Dev Mode MCP to try to get this data that it can, and then now it's resulting to our plugin, or I'm sorry, our MCP, the Figma Console MCP, because this is important data that I need. It's nice when you have something like the Figma Dev Mode MCP to be able to return what feels like opinionated markup or opinionated development code back to the AI. But what's happening is that the AI is receiving React code with Tailwind classes and properties attached to it, and then it has to interpret that and then kind of like reshuffle it and then have it conform to the way that your intentions are when you want to build. If your component library is all Tailwind in React, then you're probably going to be fine. But most aren't exactly the way that the MCP is returning that information to you. You want to be able to interpret that as web components or Angular or Twig or raw HTML, and you want to use different styling methods like emotion or SCSS or standard BEM style classes. So it went through here, it said, let me try the dev mode MCP to get these variable definitions. Couldn't do that. It tried to pull this metadata, couldn't do that. And then it said, let me go ahead and try the Figma Console MCP. And then it did that, and it pulls through, and it does this pretty deep research into the altitude design system, the one that's currently focused. And then it pulls down this information, which is super important for when the AI is making decisions on how it needs to style accurately the output from what it's gathering. So, and then I can go on and talk about the development portion of this. That's why I want to put this in a couple of different parts. But this is just kind of a preview of what I want to show. I think what I'll do is I'll record another demo that takes this another step further, that goes more into the actual building of components. Maybe I could show you, no, I'll wait for another one, because I want to show you what the Figma Dev Mode MCP is returning with when you're providing a link to a canonical component piece versus what the Figma Console MCP returns. And then you can ask the AI, which does it prefer? Does it prefer to the Figma Dev Mode React code that it returns, or does it prefer the JSON payload that has the data object that defines that component? Anyway, I wanted to keep this short, but I'll post this up, and then let me know your thoughts, and I'll post a couple of more videos, and then I'll probably put this in like a much longer kind of state of the state blog article that I'll put somewhere. But yeah, let me know your feedback. Curious to hear what you think.